Welcome to the Empower Talk podcast. We are Empower Talking today about managing self-doubt. There are challenges to all of us as long as we're in a body and as long as we have to handle emotions and energy and synergy. These things we're going to have to come to terms with. So things like self-doubt, self-confidence, self-assurance, self-esteem, all the things that have to do with who we are and how we explain ourselves and how we express ourselves. It's going to be the challenge and the issue. We will never eradicate, we will never erase completely. No matter how much you try to redact certain things in your life, there are things that we're going to have to learn how to manage every day. And self-doubt is one of those things. So we're Empower Talking today about managing self-doubt. Here's what Finding Flow in Empty Places teaches. Self-doubt, diffidence, uncertainty, and self-loathing prohibit us from really trusting ourselves completely with what we believe. That's a reckoning and an understanding that I think is quite powerful, that those things that stand in our way prohibit us from really doing the things that we want to do. They become challenges to our success, and anything that challenges our success has to be dealt with. And so once these things, the self-doubt and all the things that challenge our thinking, challenge our progress, challenge our demonstration, challenge our performance, are things that we're going to have to face head on and deal with this issue about managing self-doubt. So diffidence, uncertainty, all these things they come in front of our trust. They present issues to our trust and our belief in ourselves. Without these things in place, if we didn't have to deal with these things on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis, we would overcome certain things a lot quicker, and we would actually advance and be more productive and actually achieve things at a greater rate. But these elements, self-doubt, lack of self-assurance, all they do is they interfere with the flow of our trust, not just in our plan, not just in our vision, but they interfere with the trust that we have in ourselves. And so we have to recognize them and identify them. The prognosis has got to be right, because many times we do things and we don't know why we fail. We don't know why we don't attain. We don't know why we're not successful. And that becomes a battle within itself. But to identify, and what Finding Flow in Empty Places is doing today, is identifying this issue of self-doubt and how it begins to erode our confidence, how it begins to stand in front of our trust, and how when our trust is dismantled and when our trust is interfered with and when our trust is obliterated, then we find ourselves not being able to accomplish or to succeed in areas that we know that we're already good in. This is the challenge. We know that we're talented in those areas. So it's really not what is working for us. We have to identify what's working against us. Many times we focus so much on our strengths and the things that we're able to do well, but we have to begin to eliminate and manage the things that come against us, so that we have to make sure that we then are successful. It is not what you're fighting for. You can fight for your energy, you can fight for your vision, you can fight for all of these things. The true prognosis is what's fighting against you? What is preventing you? There are certain forces and energies that want to prevent you from achieving what absolutely you have the ability to do. And this is perhaps one of the frustrations of dealing with doubt, because there's not a lack of understanding or confidence in what we're able to do. We see our abilities, we see our performance, we see our gifts and our talents. But why do we not always perform at the level that we think we should? And this is where we have to manage self-doubt and all the things that come against trusting ourselves. It's not just that we don't trust people. That's a whole different show. But how about, do we trust ourselves? And do we really believe in what we're able to do? Managing self-doubt allows us to be able to look at this critically, subjectively, and begin to make the changes we need so that we can be successful. Listen to this. Our own judgments and reticence are surprisingly enough to impair our vision. What we do to ourselves is enough to destroy our vision. What we think of ourselves, the opinion that we have that no one else knows about, is enough to impair our vision. And so these are the things then that we have to remove, the impediments and the hindrances and the roadblocks and the things that trip us up and the emotional journeys we go on. We have to recognize those things and eliminate those things that come against us. So you are enough to stop you. No one else can stop you. You are enough to stop you. Now, other people, they may criticize us or they may have opinions about us, but we're the ones that have to actually take that on board and listen to that, receive it. If we indoctrinate it, if we make it institutionalized in our own thinking and in our own purpose, then absolutely they have the power to stop us. But individuals and powers have no power over us. It's what we say to ourselves. It's what we believe about ourselves, because we are enough. It is enough. Our own judgments and our own reticence are surprisingly enough to impair you from achieving. Without no one else saying anything, without no one else trying to discourage you, without anyone else thwarting our plans or messing with our imagination and our vision, with no other force that's coming against us, with no other negativity. Understand that you are enough to stop you, but also you are enough to become victorious and become successful. So understanding you allows us to understand our vision. It is when we become confident in our vision and self-identity that we can settle and flow into our true selves. We have to then begin to work on the things that block us and stop us and prevent us and delay us and detour us. We have to know what these things are and how they work, because until we deal with the things that are blocking our vision, self-doubt, unless we deal with the things that keep us where we are, complacency, unless we deal with the things that keep us in the same place, procrastination, all of these elements chip away at who you are and your ability to become who you are. And so we have to make sure that while we are identifying our mission, our values, our goals, our vision, all of those things are wonderful. But if we don't have a plan to overcome all of the things that bring us the kinds of lack of energy that sometimes stall us or make us or prevent us from being motivated, we know those things because we have to study ourselves. If we do those things, then we can flow into, as Finding Flow will teach us, we can flow into our true selves. Who are you really? And what can you achieve really? And what do you believe about yourself really? Not what others believe, but what do you believe about yourself really? Because it's what you believe that's going to absolutely make the difference with achieving everything that you need to achieve. There are things that will block your flow. Finding Flow in Empty Places deals with the things that need to be dealt with and removed in order for you to flow into your true self, the person you know you are, the person that you've always believed in, the person that shows up every so often to remind you that you're better than who you are, the person that emerges even in crisis and in chaos, that reminds you that you really are and you really do have the gift and the talent to be successful in any area of business, of industry, of artistry. It's the thing that reminds us, and every now and then, it's just amazing. Your true self will show up. Without plan and without preparation, you'll just emerge and you'll see yourself really the way that you think about yourself. But until we deal with those things that prevent us from becoming, then we will always be in one place and we will always need to find the flow. Empty places drain us of energy. It drains us of innovation. It drains us of synergy. It drains us of imagination. We no longer dream. We no longer imagine. We no longer believe at a higher level. We get stuck in certain places where we almost accept that where we are is where we're supposed to be. I want to remind you, we're empowered talking about self-doubt and managing it, but I want to remind you that where you are, you're too gifted to be there. You're too talented to be there. You're too talented to stay there too long. Finding Flow teaches us that when we recognize self-doubt and the things that come against us, we can remove those blockages. We can remove those hindrances. And we can certainly begin to flow again. Here's what it teaches. Getting comfortable and staying comfortable in our own flow is a constant and internal tug of war. Have you been there where you're just fighting yourself? You're fighting your own imagination. You're fighting your own thoughts about yourself. On one side of your brain, you're saying, I'm great. I can do this. And on the other side of your brain, you almost cancel out everything that you've just declared. So one of the strategies is to continually remind yourself about the way that you are and how hard you've worked to get here. You've worked so hard to become who you are. You've had to deal with all kinds of challenges that would have caused other people to absolutely leave and move on and not return again to the place of their own destiny. But the strategy is you've got to continually remind yourself of who you are. The other voices will always talk you out of it, but never talk yourself out of what your destiny is talking you into. So we've got to remind ourselves, and we've got to talk to those things. You've got to talk to your self-doubt. You've got to remind your doubt that even though it's present, and even though I recognize that you're here, and even though I know that you live with it, I live with it, we live with it every day. But your self-doubt has got to know that you are in control and that the power that's in you is greater than what needs to happen. So the power of confidence has got to sit on the power of self-doubt and tell self-doubt how to function. And sometimes it's not as if we're going to get rid of it. Sometimes you've just got to function with it. We have to live with certain infirmities, and we have to live and still perform with certain doubts. We have to break through into our true selves and remind ourselves of who we are. So tell self-doubt that even though you can exist and abide in my thinking and in our actions, it does not have the power, listen to this, it does not have the power to prevent you from being your true self. And finding flow in empty places is when we learn how to talk to ourselves enough so that even our self-doubt has to bow at our greatness. And even the lack of self-assurance has to applaud what we do. And even the lack of self-confidence has to appreciate the fact that even though they tried their best to cause you to quit and to leave, the power, the flow that's in you, the finding flow that's in you will always emerge and declare that you are the best version of yourself you can be. So managing self-doubt is a task, it's a full-time job. But we have to overcome self-doubt with the power of knowing who we are and following a dream, believing in our destiny, believing in our vision, and every day doing everything we can to overcome all the negatives that is in our lives so that we can find flow in empty places. That's what we're Empowered talking about today, and I'm hopeful that you have been enjoyed and received that. Join me again on another episode of the Empowered Talk podcast, and I'll see you next time.